Good morning, Freedom. Hey, there we go. There we go. We got a little bit of life in here. It is so great to see everyone in this place today. And our young folks, you all may be dismissed to go upstairs. And I just want to welcome everybody here. If whether you've been here before or you haven't been here, I say welcome to you. We are so glad that you are in the place with us. And one thing that I want to do before we actually get into the message is I just want to shout out Veterans Day, right? I just want to say Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans who have served, and even to the spouses around. I know I did some time in the service. I did 22 years in the Air Force, and it was as they say at Chick-fil-A, it was my pleasure. It was my pleasure to serve our great nation. In spite of all the warts and everything that we might have as a nation, we are still the greatest nation in the entire world. Amen. Amen. I'm excited today because we are about to get into a new series, and I'm real excited about the series. And the series is called Money Talks: God's Way to Financial Health. God's Way to Financial Health. Now, we know the world has its way to get to financial health, but God has the way to financial health. And if you're like me, you know that God's way of doing things is always better than the world's way. Amen? When we do it God's way, we are always doing it the best. And throughout this series, what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time in the book of Proverbs. We're going to spend some time in the book of Ecclesiastes. And we are going to be learning from the wisest man who has ever lived, and his name is Solomon. And he wrote those two books, and they are filled with advice on how we can get out and stay out of debt. It's filled with advice on how to prosper, how to be financially stable, how to save, how to spend, how to invest, and how our money should work for us instead of us working for our money. Because one thing I know is that money is always top of mind for us, right? We're always thinking about money. We're worrying about money. We're talking about money, and we are even fighting about money. You see, money is a sore spot for most of us. It's a touchy subject. It's a source of our frustration. It's a source of our stress. It's a source of arguments, and it's also even a source of divorce in our homes. So learning how to handle money and becoming financially healthy is always a good topic for us to touch on, and we're going to do that today and throughout this series. Did you guys know that Jesus talked a lot about money in the Bible? As a matter of fact, he talked more about money than he did about heaven or hell. And over half of Jesus's parables had to do with some kind of material possessions. And you might ask yourself, well, why in the world would that be? It's because Jesus wants us to control money instead of money having control of us. So this morning, what I want to do is I want to begin our series with a message I titled, Building a Godly Foundation for Financial Health. And before we dig into Ecclesiastes and all that stuff, I want to start with a parable that we are probably really familiar with. And in that parable, we sometimes can get it confused or kind of misunderstand it because it has this word in it. It has the word talent in it. So y'all already know where I'm going. It has that word talent in it. And when we think about talent, and we think about our gifts, we think about our abilities, we think about the things that we like to do the most. And you know what? That is good for us to have that kind of thought about that word, because that's what it actually means for us. But the Bible wasn't written in 2024. The Bible was written thousands and thousands of years ago. And talent was actually a specific measurement. It was a measurement of gold or silver. It was a measurement of money. And what they equated to, when we think about a talent was equated to 20 years of a laborer's wage. 20 years of a laborer's wage. That was one talent. And I read some comparisons about what that might look like in today's time. And I saw things all over the map. Some were at 500,000 and some went all the way up to 8 million. But I think we can agree on this. Whatever it was, whether it was 500,000 or whether it's 8 million, that's still a lot of money, right? That was one talent. That is still a lot of money. Now, while this parable does have some applications to our talents and our abilities and our gifting and everything else, this parable was actually written about managing money. And so what we're going to do is we're going to grab some pieces for this so we can lay us a financial foundation. We can lay it down so that everything that follows this message, we are building on an understanding of our financial health. And the very first thing that we have to settle here, the very first piece that we're going to pull together is this. Everything I have belongs to God. Everything I have, it belongs to God. You see, in Matthew 25:14, it says this, again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. You see, it says that he entrusted his wealth to them. If y'all don't know who the he is, we're talking about the master, or for us, it would be God. God entrusted his wealth to them. His wealth to them. So whose wealth is it? It's not the servant's wealth. It is God's wealth, or this master's wealth. He entrusted it to them so that they could take care of it. And let me use a different word here, a word that we're probably familiar with. That word is stewardship. You see, he was given them so that they could be stewards over the money, or managers over the money, that there would be stewardship going on. You know, when God calls us to be stewards of our time, he calls us to be stewards over our bodies, over our relationships, over our families, over the opportunities he had. God calls us to be stewards over our possessions and our money. Now, I know the one thing that you're thinking, because I have definitely thought about this before too. I made the money. I worked. I'm the one that earned the money. I get it. I said that a time or two myself. But one thing I had to realize is that the money is not ours. Everything that we have, it is a gift from God. So we really don't own anything in life. We are called to just steward it or manage it well. I think we get confused at times because the owner, if you will, God, is not around. And we've had everything that we've had for a very long time. So if the owner is not around and it's always here and I'm the one always making decisions on it, it definitely feels like it is mine. But we are just managers, and we should be making management decisions and not owner decisions. Does that make sense? You see, I've owned some rental property before, and we've had tenants in there. And at no time did my tenant say, you know what, I'm going to knock this wall down and I'm going to put another wall up and we're just going to put a, no, they didn't do that. I made those kind of decisions. Matter of fact, if there was something that they wanted to do, guess what they would do? They would pick up the phone and call the owner. And then I would say, yes, you can, or no, you can't. Right? We make management decisions, not owner decisions. Number 2, God loaned us his money. In Matthew 25:15, it says this: to one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. I want us to notice a couple things right here in this verse right here. First is that everyone was entrusted with a different amount. Right, and we can look around the world today, right? We can look around. Not all of us are on the same economic status, right? We don't all have the same economic status. There are people in the world that are ultra rich, right? Think of Jeff Bezos, right, or Bill Gates, right? But then you have those folks that are less fortunate, and they don't have a lot, or if anything, at all, right? So we're all up and down. But here's the thing. Everybody gets something. And then the next thing I want you to notice is that he was given each according to his ability. Right? God said, he said, you know what? I know I can trust you with this. Here's the thing that we need to notice too. Whatever he gives us, we can handle that. So if we have it, and we don't think we can handle it, well, that's wrong. Because God is the one that gave it to us. He said, I gave it to you because I know this is what you can handle. So whatever we have, God says you can handle it. So I don't want you to sell yourself short and say, you know what, I'm just doing bad with all this stuff that I have. No, God says you can handle what I have given you. You can handle it. In verse 16, it says this: the man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. Also, the one who had 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. They took what they had and they went to work. Why? Because money is a tool for us to use. It is something that we are supposed to use. We are supposed to love money and love people. I said that way wrong. We are to love people and to use money. Y'all should have checked me on that. Say, wait. Yeah, no. We are to love people and use money. But don't you know people get that reversed so much? They reverse that so much. Have you ever seen people like that who actually love money and they use people? Have you seen people like that? They will literally do anything to get more money. And they begin to treat people as objects instead of as people. We were never supposed to love money. Never. Matter of fact, Scripture says in 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 10, it says, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And some people, craving money, have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with so many sorrows. We are supposed to love people and use money. Because it's simply a tool for us, right? It's neither good nor bad. It's almost like having a hammer, right? A hammer is not good or a hammer is not bad. It is a tool for us to use. And depending upon how we use it, right? We can use a hammer for good, right? To bang in nails like it was designed and created to do. Or people have used hammers to actually hit people over the head, right? Is it the hammer's fault? No, it's not the hammer's fault, right? Like for us, right? We have money, right? Money is a tool for us. We can use it to invest in people. We can use it to start businesses that will bless people. We can use money so that other people would come to know who Jesus Christ is, or we can use money for selfish reasons. We can use money to see how many toys that we can buy. We can use money to fill our barns and keep our barns full while everything else and the things that God is telling us to do with our money, we say, go away from me. It is how we choose to use money. You see, most of us are financially unhealthy because we are always working for money instead of money working for us. Now let me say something about financial health. Financial health has zero to do with how much money you have. Financial health has everything to do with your thought process and how you use your money. So please don't excuse yourself when I say financially unhealthy. No, I got plenty of money. I'm good. No. I'm talking about what is your thought process with money? How do you use your money? Is your money being used for the thing that God wants it to be used for? Or is money being used for the things that you want it used for? Right? We can't be the ones serving money. Money is the ones that should serve us. I said it like this. Money is a great servant, but it is a terrible master. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we renew our minds about our money. We can't have that old thought process, that old mindset. We have to renew our minds so that we can understand that money is a tool for us to use. It says that he gave money to his 3 servants. 2 of them go out and they invest it. They put it to work. But then in verse 18 it says, but the one man who had received 1 bag went off. He dug a hole in the ground and he hid his master's money. He went out and hid it in the ground. Maybe he was embarrassed. Man, he got 5 and he got 2, and then I just get this 1. Here's the thing, is we don't get to choose what God gives us, but we do choose what we do with it. Right? We get to choose what we do with it. You see, God is watching what we do with what he gave us. Which brings us to our next piece, is that there will be accountability. One day we're going to answer for what it is that God gave us. You see, in verse 19 it says this, after a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. You see, when we die, God is going to settle our account too. You know, it's going to be like our final exam on the life that God has given us. Only there won't be no multiple choice. There won't be no fill in the blanks. There's not going to be an essay question that we have to fill out. You know what it's going to be? It's going to be a practical exam. A practical exam. And here's the thing that we need to figure out right now, is that exam is going on right now. We are taking our life exam right now. So when we get to heaven, it ain't okay, he ain't going to say, okay, go in this room here and now take your test. No, your test is being taken right now. Because he's watching everything that we have ever done with our time, our talents, and our treasure. He's watching everything that we have done with our lives. The times that we used it for good, that we did the things that God wanted us to do, and the times that we have actually flat out blew it. But here's what we can't do, is we can't continue to live our lives like there will be no accountability for what we are doing. We are going to be called on the carpet. He's going to say, Lonnie, your turn. And then I got to go up there. He's going to say, okay, now this is what happened. And that make me nervous already. that make me nervous already. I can say, Lord, can we just skip to the good parts? Let's just forget all the other stuff and just fast forward to the good parts. You ain't got no DVR in here? I thought everybody had just hit the button, right? So we're going to have to give an accountability at the end. The reason why is that God is the one who created us. And he placed purpose in each and every one of us. He knows the plans that he has for us. Those plans and those purposes are his investment in us. Think about this. Every invention ever made was created for a specific purpose and to solve a specific problem. So to us, he's given us specific gifts, abilities, opportunities. For each one of us, he's given us specific resources. He's given us specific intellect. And he's given us a specific energy for the things that he has created us to do, those plans and those purposes that he has for us. And when we get there, he's going to say, what did you do with what I gave you? I ain't talking about what so-and-so had down the street. I ain't talking about what they did. I want to know, what did you do with what I gave you? I did not put all that stuff in you so that you can live your life for yourself. That's not what I did. I gave you specific purpose, right? We were created for God's glory, not ours. For his glory, to complete a specific purpose, to solve a specific problem. That's why he created us. That's why he created you, and you. He created us for a specific purpose to solve a specific problem. In Romans 14:12, it says this: yes, each of us will give a personal account to God. When I get up there, I hope I'm at the very end of the line. So give me time to think about what I'm going to say when he pulls stuff up, right? I need to be last. What did they say? He liked that? Okay, I'm going to say that one too. I'm going to use that. Y'all know how we do when we get in classes and we get raising their hands and everything else? Oh, yeah, she said what I was going to say, right? That's how we do it, right? So when we get up there, I don't know what our number's going to be, but we are going to have to give a personal account to God. Now, I've talked about our financial irresponsibility over and over and over again. We were financially irresponsible. Matter of fact, I was spending money like it was my job. And I was good at my job. Right? I was spending money like it was my job. But guess what? That eventually caught up to us. That didn't last forever. That eventually caught up to us. And we found ourselves drowning in debt. I know the creditors had us on speed dial. They called all the time. Matter of fact, they just probably hit number one, poop, and it go to our house. Right? They had us on speed dial. I was afraid to write checks, right? Because I didn't want them to bounce. I was afraid to write checks. And I believe they set the lowest credit score based on us. They probably does. Where the Isaacs at? Down here. All right, well, that's the low credit score right there. That's the lowest thing that you can get. Right? It eventually caught up to us. I don't know where y'all are at financially. I don't know how well you're doing, but do know this. If you are being irresponsible with your money financially, it will eventually catch up to you. It's going to eventually catch up. And one day, God is going to say, okay, what did you do with what I gave you? In Matthew 25:20, it says this: the man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, You entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Verse 22, it says, the man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The first 2 guys, they passed their test. You see, they got a good ROI, return on their investment. They doubled the investment they had, which is a 100% return. It was almost like they bought Google, Amazon, Netflix, NVIDIA, Apple, all when they first came out. And they were holding all the stocks, right? A good ROI. But then we read in verse 24, it says, the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you were a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. While the first 2 had a good report, the third guy, not so much. He didn't do anything with what God gave him. Or let me change that. He did do something with what God gave him. He buried it. He hid it. It's almost like this. How we do, we put it under the mattress. That's what he did. He said, you know what, let me just put it right here because I don't want to lose it, so I'm going to hide it right here. But then see the other thing that he did. He blames his master for his mismanagement and his failure. He said, I'm the victim here. He said, I knew you were a hard man. You were just a hard man. You're a shrewd guy. It's all your fault because you're such a hard man. I'm going to hide and I'm going to bury what you have given me. We kind of do the same thing. When we mess up our lives, when we don't know what to do, we play the blame game too. We blame the system. No, it's the system. It's set up for me to fail. We blame the government. We blame the economy. We even blame our parents. We blame everybody else, and we even blame God. But here's the thing. I'm pretty sure God never told us to max out our credit cards. I'm pretty sure God didn't say live on a champagne or live the champagne lifestyle on a beer budget, right? I'm sure he didn't say that. I'm sure God didn't say, okay, go out and buy all the things that you can't afford. You see, while blaming others might make us feel good, it never solves the problem. We need to let that marinate. You see, because that has far more application than just our finances. I don't know if you're blaming other people for something else in your life that happened. But that never solves the problem. It never solves the problem. Look what it says in Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 3. People ruin their lives by their own foolishness, and then they're angry at the Lord. Ouch. Ouch. That one hurts. You see, the answer to our problem always starts with looking in the mirror. You see, so if there's a problem that you're facing, whether it be financial or whether it be something else, if there's a problem that you are facing, the very first place that we start is with a good hard look in the mirror. And then we have to be honest with that person that's looking right back at us. What in the world did I do to be in this situation right now? What is it that I could have done differently? What is it that I can do now? In the case of our finances, maybe it's for us in this fourth point to use God's money wisely. Use it wisely. You see, in Matthew 26, it says this, his master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I return, I would have received it back with interest." You see, so God is calling this man wicked simply because he was afraid of losing it. That's pretty harsh. Right, I think that's pretty harsh. I don't know about you, because I would think the word wicked is probably something we can use for a sin like rape or child abuse or murder. We can say that is wicked, right? That is wicked. But for money, mismanaging our money, that's wicked. Yeah, that's what God says. That's what this says. He's saying it's wicked anytime we misuse or abuse the resources that he has given us. He calls that wicked. You see, the greatest use of our lives is to invest in the things that are eternal. We're supposed to be investing in eternal things. This is what he told the man. He said, you should have at least put my money in the bank, not under the mattress. You should have at least put my money in the bank. You didn't even try, and that's inexcusable. You just buried it. You see, we tend to bury things that we want to forget. We bury things that we don't want to think about, things that we don't want to face, or things that maybe, you know what, we don't want to deal with the responsibility of that thing, or we don't want to deal with the consequences of it. And it's kind of equivalent to this right here, with us having our head in the sand. That's the same thing. You see, that's us trying to forget about our debt. It's us saying, you know what, I just don't want to think about it. What it looks like is when we get the mail and those letters from the creditors come away, we tear them up. We don't even open them. We just put them in the trash. Or when we see the numbers calling, because we get familiar with what numbers coming from who, right? Now we know that's the bill. That's the bill, dude. They're calling us right now, right? And now they make it so easy that you can just hit the little red button and say, nope, decline. I don't even want to talk to them. You see, back then when we were struggling, it wasn't none of that. It was pick up the phone. Hello? Oh, daggone it. There they go. They got me. Call ID wasn't working or something, right? They get it. We get it, right? When we don't want to face our financial problems, we pretend that they don't exist. We bury them. And then we want to make up a list, right? A list of our excuses so that we can justify why we actually haven't did anything. Hey, I'm not as smart as fill in the blank. Or I don't look as good as fill in the blank. My family didn't have a lot of money, so that's why I can't fill in the blank. I don't have a college degree behind me so that I can fill in the blank. You see, there may be 1,000 excuses that we can come up with. And while some of them might actually be true, none of them are valid for what God is trying to do. None of them. You can lay excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse, and God going to be like, yep, I got it. But what did you do with what I gave you? I heard all that, right? I said it to you. I heard all that now. What did you do with what I gave you. You see, God has given everyone something, which means everyone has something to give. He didn't leave you out. He didn't leave nobody out. I didn't read in here where it says, and to this person he didn't give nothing. That part is not in there. He has given every one of us something. So that means we have something to give back to him. Here's something that he wants us to know. He's trying to teach us that he does not judge us by the amount that we produce. He's not judging us by the amount that we produce. What he's judging us on is our faithfulness to what he gave us. Meaning that there is a percentage that he's expecting back on what he gave us. The first two guys, they got the same praise, they got the same reward, but they produced different amounts. He ain't say to the guy that got 2, hey man, you ain't bring back 2. How come you ain't bring back 5? The other guy brought back 5. I expect you to bring back 5. Okay, you only brought back 2? Okay, not well done, not good and faithful servant. You did all right. You did all right. He didn't do that. He gave them the same praise. Why? Because their percentages were the same. They were both faithful with what they have been given. Not a last dude. The last dude was what we call unfaithful, right? He was scared and he buried his talent. Now let me ask you this. Have you buried your talent? Are you scared of failure? Or how about this? Are you scared of success? Which brings us to the next one. We must overcome fear. You see, because what fear does is it can keep us from investing our lives. You know, if you're a gifted singer or if you're a gifted musician, you'll probably have a fear that's like this. You know what? Nobody's going to like how I play. Nobody's going to like how I sing. It's not going to sound good to them. They're going to turn up their noses. They're not going to want to hear that. Or if you have a talent in business, you'll probably have a fear that you're gonna fail, that things aren't gonna go well. And this is one for me that I'm fighting through right now. There's some things that I want to do, and I am pushing through the fear. I'm not allowing the fear to keep me from doing it. I'm fighting. Because I know last week, if you were here, you heard me say that what I want to do is I want to retire my wife, right? I want to bring my wife home. And I want to leave the full-time job that I have so that we can do ministry full-time. But guess what? That's scary. That's scary. That means that some kind of way I have to figure out how we're going to replace the income that we have so that we can, all right, Uncle Sam, I'm done with you. So I'm fighting through that fear. I have some things that we're trying to do, but that's hard. It's scary. So when we have talents, whatever it is, whatever thing that God has gifted you with, and you're trying to do something with it, you might have a fear that's keeping you from actually stepping out and investing your life and doing what God has purposed you to do. But here's the thing. To overcome fear, we're going to have to do the very thing that we fear the most. That's what's going to have to happen. We have to take a step in that direction. We're going to have to let go of the rope and take a step. Or let me say it like this, how they said it in the Bible. We're going to have to get out of the boat like Peter did. You see, God guarantees that if we follow his principles, we will be blessed. The problem with that is that some of the things that God is asking us to do are countercultural. Right? It's the thing, it's the matter of fact, it's like the exact opposite for some of us of the thing that we might want to do or the thing that would make sense for us. It's like it's the exact opposite. This doesn't quite feel right that I'm supposed to do this. But then here's the question for us. Do we trust God or do we trust ourselves? Do we trust God or do we trust what somebody else says? Do we trust God or what some friend that we have on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever? Do we trust what they say? Who is it that we trust? Here's how we know. Our actions tell on us every time. Don't lie to yourself and say, yeah, I trust God, but you ain't done no actions. That's saying, I trust God. Our actions will tell on us every time. Here's the way that we say it. Scared money don't make money. Now, I know that ain't grammatically correct or whatever. That's how we said it. That's how we still say it. Scared money don't make money. Right? We can keep money in our pocket all the time. If we don't invest it, nothing is going to happen. If we want God's promises, if we want his blessings, it is going to require our faith. Which means that we are going to have to fight our fears and feed our faith. You see, the third guy, he was afraid, and it said he buried his money. He did the exact opposite. He fought his faith, and he fed his fears. He said, I knew you're a shrewd man. He said, I know you're a hard man. You're doing this. You're doing this. I'm afraid. What he was doing is he was like, yeah, this is why I shouldn't do it. This is why I shouldn't do it. This is why I shouldn't do it. He was feeding his fear. We're going to have to fight the fear of the unknown. We're going to have to fight the fear of what other people may say. We're going to have to fight the fear of some of us success, and we are definitely going to have to fight the fear of failure. But here's one thing that I want us to know. It doesn't matter how much debt that we're in. It doesn't matter how much money we have or how much money we don't have. It doesn't matter how much money we make or that we don't make. It doesn't matter how many times that we have messed up financially. We can't be afraid to try. And for those of us that have failed a time or two or three or 100, we can't be afraid to try again. We can't. Know this, is that fear always attaches itself to our desire to do things God's way. Fear is always going to be there. Why? Because Satan is doing his very best to keep us from doing what we are supposed to be doing. So he's going to throw out fear every chance he gets. Let me throw this out. See if they're going to do it. Maybe if I throw this one out, maybe they won't do it. I'm going to throw this one out because he is trying to stop us. But we can't let fear win. We just simply can't. We can't allow fear to hold us in our seats. We have to do what God called us to do. Number 6, use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. In Matthew 25 and 28, he says, so take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. You see, God has the right to take away anything that we don't use. He has that right because he is about ROI. He's about return on his investment. He's about completing the purpose that he has set in the earth. He wants more people in his kingdom. And if we got something, if we're not using the thing that he gave us, you say, you know what? I'm gonna give it to that person over here. Let me give you this, because he wants something for what he has given us. Now let's talk about return on investment again. Let's talk about if I don't use it, I lose it. We should be familiar with this. This happens all the time. What happens if we don't exercise and everything the way we're supposed to? Any muscle we did have, we done lost it. We're going to lose it. Right? If you used to run and all that kind of stuff like that and you don't run no more, you ain't going to get out there and run them 10 miles like you did 2 years ago. That ain't going to happen. It doesn't quite work that way. For those who have played sports, or you played instruments, or you draw, or you paint, or something along those lines like that, if you don't practice, guess what happens to that skill? You lose it, right? But the great thing for us is that the opposite is also true. The opposite is true, right? If we use it wisely, God gives us more, right? If we show ourselves faithful with the money that God has given us, guess what he does? He said, you know what, I know I can trust you more, so let me give you a little bit more. Here's what Jesus said in Luke 16. He said, if you are faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. But if you are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities. And if you are untrustworthy about worldly wealth, who will trust you with the true riches of heaven? And if you are not faithful with other people's things, why should you be trusted with things of your own? Can God trust you? You see, that's probably the better question for us is can God trust you? If God was to bless you with $20 million, will he be able to say, you know what, I know she's going to do good with this. She's going to use it for the things that I purposed it for. She's not going to go out and buy everything that she can see. No, she's going to use it for what I gave it to her for. Can God trust you? You know, whatever it is that we need more of, we should give it to God. If we need more time, we should give our time to God. If we need more ideas, we should give the ideas that we have to God. If we need more peace in our life, we should give the little peace that we do have and sit with God. If we need more money, we should give God our money. You see, that is what he blesses. The principle is this: whatever we sow, we reap. If you have, a farmer has this little orange seed right here. If he sows that orange seed, he's not getting just one orange seed back. If he sows this one orange seed, he's getting an orange tree. He's getting something that now has all those oranges on it with all those seeds in all the oranges. You see, because when God gives us something, he doesn't just give us one for one type thing. He gives us exponentially more than what it is that we have sown. He shows it to us all the time in nature with this. Plant one seed, I'm going to give you a whole tree. You ain't got to worry about it. I got your back. You trusted me to plant it. You used what I had and you invested it. So now let me show you what I'm going to do. Well done, thy good and thy faithful servant. I am now going to give you more. Which brings us to our last point, number 7. Y'all, I just had to do 7, right? I had to. The number of perfection, the number of completion, I just had to do it, right? So the last piece is God rewards good money management. You see, money is a test of our faithfulness. You see, God tests us with money more than anything else in our lives. And you might wonder why. It's because it's the hardest thing that we have to deal with, that we deal with. It's hard for us to figure money out sometimes. It's hard for us to, how are we going to manage this thing? There's so many things around that's going on around competing for our attention, and we just want it. We're throwing money and everything else. Money management can be hard. But look at the rewards that God gives for wise money management. We'll go back to verse 21. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The first reward we see there is affirmation. What does he say? Well done, thy good and thy faithful servant. Translation, great job. I was testing you to see if you can be trusted with more. I was just testing you to see if you would pass the test, and you did. So the second reward said, because you passed the test, I am going to give you promotion. I'm going to put you in charge of many things now. Before you were just in charge of this. Now I'm going to put you in charge of many things. I'm giving you greater responsibility. And then the third reward was this. There was a time of celebration. Come and share God's happiness. Meaning, it's time to turn up now. Right? We got Kool and the Gang in the back praying, celebrate good times. Come on. They done lit the grill. They throwing meat on the grill. Everybody's sitting out there. They celebrating. They're having a good time. There is rewards. We will be rewarded for wise money management. And as I close, you can begin to play the music. Is that money is the test of how much we actually trust God. And that's why during this series, we're going to spend time on that. We're not going to just learn how to get out of debt and everything else. And I can guarantee you, we're not going to be talking about how to make you a millionaire. That's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. But what we are going to end up talking about is how much more can we trust God? How much faith do we actually have? I know that our relationship with money, it doesn't shift and it doesn't change overnight. It's something that happens gradually. It's something that happens day by day, and it's something that happens choice by choice. So when we begin to view money as a tool, then we'll begin to use it as it is supposed to be used, where our light now overcomes our darkness, and then our generosity overcomes our greed, and then our faith replaces our fear. And what that does is that puts us on a different path. It puts us on a different trajectory. It puts us on a path of purpose. It puts us on a path of calling. And it puts us on a path of freedom. So with every head bowed and with every eye closed, the very first step on a journey of doing anything God's way is that we need to be right with God. The relationship between us and God has to be right. So there may be some in here that has never even established a relationship with God. If that is you, this is now your time to begin that relationship with Him, so that you begin to walk with Him. You begin to talk to Him, and He begins to talk with you. And so if you have never accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and that's something that you want to do now, with every head bowed and with every eye closed, all I ask is you to lift up your hand. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to embarrass anybody. I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable or out of place. That's why we ask everybody to bow their head and close their eyes. If that is you, if you want to give God your heart today, all you have to do is just lift up your hand and you can put it right back down. Or maybe you have said yes to Jesus, and right now you know that you're not quite walking in step with Him. You're walking further away from Him than you want to. If that is you, this is a time for you as well. All you have to do is lift up your hand and you can put your hand right back down. Are there any? Amen. It looks like we're all family. So while this song is playing, this will also be a time for anyone that might be dealing with something, want to talk to God about something. The altar for prayer is open. We have folks up front that are willing and ready to pray with you and to pray for you. If you need prayer, all you have to do is you can just walk down and you can take some time and pray with them up here. And while we allow a little bit of time for that to take place, I would just ask if you can just pray to yourself in your seat.